every month or every year or whatever it is to the point where I cannot afford it.
So you're saying you have the right to choose what you think is fair? Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Thank you for doing this, and hopefully we'll be able to hash it out nicely.
Yeah, we'll see. It's too difficult to evict tenants who don't pay the rent.
Correct.
We need more support.
Correct. We're in a cost of living crisis. There's a lot of landlords that can't afford to have tenants that don't pay them any rent. And now, not only are they not making any money, but they're actually losing money because they're still having to pay the mortgage.
So morally, you're okay going to sleep at night,
Yes.
knowing that you have evicted a family and put them out at risk of homelessness onto the street. You're okay with that?
Yes. Here's what irritates me, right? What irritates me is when tenants tell me they can't pay rent because their mom just died. They would never call their energy provider and say, I can't pay my energy bill because my mom died. They would never call Sainsbury's and go in and say, my mom died, can I have free food? Why do they come to me? They prey and leech and use emotional manipulation on struggling landlords with stories of why they can't pay the rent, and it's wrong.
So you're telling me that tenants are the ones who are preying and leeching on
Correct.
landlords?
Correct.
I think there should be empathy for people struggling.
All right, I'll serve a very empathetic eviction notice.
What about people who, like I said, can't afford food, can't afford to feed their families?
What does Sainsbury's say? They say, you can't come buy food unless you have money. You need money.
Landlords should be able to charge what they see fit in terms of rent to protect their property.
Absolutely. If you've got something, if you're selling a laptop, who chooses how much you sell that laptop for? You choose how much you sell the laptop for. If you overcharge and you say, I know it's only worth £1,000, but I want £2,000, guess what's going to happen? No one's going to buy it. And it's the same with properties. If you've got a property and the rent is worth £1,000, and you go, actually, I'm going to put it on for £2,000, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have an empty house.
That's going to be £2,000 for this mouldy, damp, barely fit for purpose house that the landlord thinks is fine to charge that much money for. Landlords are able to charge whatever they want for any type of property. It can be the most amazing, well-kept for property, or it can be literally a hovel.
We have a massive shortage of houses, and every year we fail to build the amount of houses. And as a result of that, because there's a shortage of houses, there's way, I know, I'll put a property on for rent, I'll have 27 applications. I get it.
Housing is a right. You have a right to shelter. You have a right to safe shelter.
If it's a right, who's going to pay for it? If you're saying, I should just have a right to live in a house, everything should just be free, who's going to pay?
I didn't say it was for free. I just said it was a right.
Okay, well, what do you mean by a right? You have to pay. That's called the world we live in.
That pay should be in line with what you are able to afford. I have the right to be able to live in my home and not fear eviction, right? And I have the right not to have my rent increase so drastically every month or every year or whatever it is to the point where I cannot afford it.
So you're saying you have the right to choose what you think is fair. You should just say, I think it's fair to pay this for a house, therefore I have the right to pay that.
I didn't say that.
I'm just trying to understand because it doesn't make any sense.
I think homelessness shouldn't exist. I think people should not be homeless.
Sure, and people shouldn't be sick either, and isn't it a shame that people die? That's the
Those
world.
are not any, that is not comparable in
It
any
is.
way.
It is.
Absolutely not.
It's the world we live in.
Yeah, of course people die. That's just life. But homelessness is not life. Homelessness is a societal problem. Homelessness is something that we created.
But you have no solutions of how to fix it. You just say, I'd like it if it was just given to me at the price that I want to pay.
Do you have the answers to everything in the world?
No, but I have the answers to this. It's called a free market. The amount of properties landlords own should be capped.
Agree, 100%.
I'm building right now a block of 48 houses. Should I be allowed to do that?
You should be allowed to build them,
And then
but
what?
you shouldn't be allowed to profit from them. How many properties do you have?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yes.
Right, so you are probably making a significant income from all of those properties.
If I wasn't making money from building properties, I wouldn't do it. And if no one does it, guess what? There's going to be way less supply and rents are going to be 10 times the price and you're going to be moaning about it, even more.
You shouldn't profit off them as a landlord.
So what you're saying, I should be forced to sell them all, but I can make a profit in
You should get a
selling
job.
them? This is way more important than most jobs. This is the very thing that you have a problem with, which is the lack of supply of properties. I'm there building these properties and you're saying, go get a job.
Yeah,
What the
that
heck?
should be funded by the government. The supply of property should be funded by the government, not by people who have to pay more money to you and put it in your personal pocket. My landlord, right, owns my whole building. There's 4 flats in it, including my own. From my building alone, he earns £60,000 a year. Double.
Is that it?
That's double what the average UK salary is.
Good for him. He deserves that money.
Significantly more than what I earn. And then I put 60% of my income straight into his pocket.
Good.
And I will never buy a house because that money, I will never see that money. I'm giving money to someone, right, for a place that I don't own, that I can't make changes to, that I can't paint, I can't, decorate, I can't put things on the wall without permission, I can't have a pet without permission.
But the thing is, everything you're saying boils down to, I want the government to help me, the government should solve the problems. That's not the real world.
You live in the property, you should fix it or take better care of it.
Depends on what it is. I've literally had people call me up and say, my lights aren't working, it's an emergency. And then I've been like, oh man, they're not working, I'm so sorry. Bang! Send someone out, paid an emergency electrician, and the light bulbs just need changing.
Yeah, I personally do agree that you should change your own light bulb. But also, what then happens, so some people have made repairs or fixed up their property or whatever, changed their property in some way, and changed the light bulbs, but their landlords are like, you shouldn't have done that because we're supposed to be in charge.
They're just idiot landlords.
I've had a landlord like that. They were like, oh, you have to call us every time, when you need the light bulb changed.
Nah,
I
idiots.
can buy my own light bulb.
I want to put a picture up on the wall, you're not allowed. I'm not about that life.
Yeah.
My tenants are my customers. They give me money, They should be grateful to me, I should be grateful to them. Win-win.
So what happens in that situation? A landlord doesn't fix something after multiple complaints, and it's something really dangerous, like mold or damp, something that will hurt you, which costs billions to the NHS.
Mm-hmm. You talk about landlords not fixing things, mold, problems, that's a real issue. Imagine if the government capped rents. Now I'm not fixing now. Now I'm not making any profit. How am I supposed to fix stuff?
Landlords let tenants live in dangerous or hazardous conditions.
Yeah, they do, and it's wrong.
I can agree with that, yeah. There are some really bad landlords out there.
I tell you who's worse, who's the worst landlord is though? The council. Look at Grenfell Tower and all the disgusting, horrible things that have happened. The council houses are the worst. So when people say, we should just rely on the government to provide all that housing, it's like, whoa! Come to me, man. Come to me. I'll give you better houses, believe me. And you'll pay me and it's cool, but I'll build houses. Don't go to the government. Government, terrible. I'm a landlord, not a bad guy. Why do we have such a bad rep?
I think landlords have such a bad reputation because renters are extremely frustrated where they can be evicted at a moment's notice, where their rents can increase at a moment's notice, forcing them out of their area, forcing them to find new housing at the drop of a hat. I think it's all these horror stories that we've heard. They're frustrated that they're pouring thousands of pounds into this home that they reap no reward from. They're just putting that money into their landlord's pocket. And, if they're paying £30,000 of rent a year, that money, if they had saved all of that up, they would have a house. They could be able to buy a house.
That's true. I don't think that greedy landlords truly exist. Generally speaking, because the way you see it is, if you're greedy and money grabbing and don't fix things, you make more money. That's actually not the case. From my experience of the thousands of investors that I have met and talked to and seen their books, the ones that treat their business like a true business and care about their customers, to see their house as a product and a service and their tenant as a customer and look after them, they actually make more money. The greedy slum landlords are often broke. So they should be. So I think there's this skewed narrative that these greedy landlords that are making all this money, they're not. They're idiots.
Have you ever seen those horror stories about people who they changed the shower head to a nicer one, or they painted and it was nicer, and then they got their deposit taken away, or their landlord just evicted them?
I think it's disgusting. I hate it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you think this has been hashed out?
I think it's been hashed out really well.
Yeah. I think neither of us will come to an agreement on certain things, but I think on some things we do have common ground and we do agree ostensibly on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I think it's been hashed out pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're a very articulate person.
Thank you.
I think you deserve to be very successful in whatever you do. I've been a tenant, so I get it. But I think you need to begin to be a bit more grateful to me for the houses that I'm building. That'd be good.
Sure. Maybe on a cold day in hell.
Love to meet you. I think that was really interesting. I think that there's nothing more healthy than debating with people that you disagree with. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
It was really interesting to kind of hear his perspective. You know, it was nice that we were able to kind of have like a conversation and we did come to agreement on certain points, even if overall maybe we disagree with each other.
I wouldn't say it's changed my perspective at all. Hopefully it changed her perspective just a little bit.
Yeah, I think my perspective has changed a little bit on a few things. I think maybe I probably should read up a little bit more on like the kind of economics of it and of like rent controls.
I'm from a working class background. I know what it's like to be a tenant. I'm very aware of the problems. It's just the solutions that she was giving me just didn't make any logical sense at all and have been tried and tested and failed miserably.
I think I would sit down with him for another chat. I think we both had a lot of interesting things to say, but clearly there are some things I need to learn more about, some things he needs to learn more about. So maybe once we've both read up a little bit more on those things, then we could, you know, sit down again and talk about it and have a more well-rounded perspective overall.
I would definitely sit down for another chat with her. And I think I have a feeling we're going to end up being friends one day. Hopefully I can help her get into property and become a millionaire, then she'll change her mind real quick.
And she has a husband who I also have a casual relationship with as well.
How can you go for somebody else at the same time as me? Am I not enough?
You just told me that I should be single.
You're just cheating.
Let me finish.